thank you so much for clicking on my video. My name is Kevin. I am a non-elite triathlete. I like to make videos and posts about different fitness goals that I have, mostly involved with triathlon, cycling, Zwifting, running, but sometimes other things as well. So if that is the type of thing that seems interesting to you, please feel free to subscribe to the channel and follow us. So this year, I have wanted to make some more YouTube videos about different goals and how I'm trying to achieve them and training that I do. I know that sometimes Instagram is a great place for posting daily workouts, but if you want to get more involved in what you're doing, it's kind of difficult. So I figured YouTube would be a good place to do that, and I thought this would be a really nice place to start because a lot of you are familiar with Lionel Sanders. Lionel Sanders is probably the most popular triathlete in the world, mostly due to his YouTube channel, which is great. And even if you're not that into triathlon, I strongly recommend that maybe you go over there and watch some of his videos anyway, just to get some inspiration. I think no matter what kind of workouts you like to do, no matter what you're interested in, there's always athletes that kind of transcend whatever they're doing. And even if you are not into bodybuilding, even if you're not into CrossFit, even if you're not into running ultra marathons, certain athletes, when you watch them, you just kind of know that they're just digging as deep as they possibly can, and it can't help but inspire you when you're trying to do your own goals or even just sort of beginning your own goals to see them. So Lionel Sanders is always one of those people for me. There's others for sure that I like to watch, and they inspire me when I'm working out. They motivate me to try new things and to push myself through workouts, or even just to work out consistently, because watching them gives me a lot of inspiration. This year, one of the goals that I was really kind of looking for towards the beginning of the season was to swim more consistently. I do have some swimming background. It's not like an elite swimming background, but it's just enough that I really can get away with kind of just showing up to, let's say, a triathlon race and jump in the water and feel somewhat comfortable, even when I haven't put in like a ton of work. So, and I haven't put in a ton of work in a long time in the pool. So I really wanted to get the motivation to fix that this year. I wanted to get back in the pool at least consistently enough where I'm feeling as though I can push through a race and feel as though I'm coming out of the water feeling strong, feeling like I'm not beat up already, feeling like I haven't already hyperventilated halfway into the swim and given up on the race after 500 meters or whatever it is, which is usually, unfortunately, the way that I feel. But that makes sense because I don't put in a lot of work in the pool compared to what other athletes are doing, and that's something that I'm really wanting to fix this year. So I kind of toyed with the idea this year of maybe doing like a 500 time trial and then seeing the progression and the results, and maybe that will motivate me to get in the pool more, to see a progression down. But that definitely still seemed a little bit boring. A month ago, I saw Lionel Sanders participate in something called the Arena Games, which was kind of surprising. So Lionel Sanders is, for the most part, a 70.3 or half Ironman and full Ironman type athlete. That's where he excels the most. So it was kind of surprising because the Arena Games, for those of you that don't know, is basically the smallest, shortest in duration indoor triathlon and most competitive indoor triathlon ever devised. You know, a very short distance for each of the athletes compared to what you would think of as like longer distance triathlon or even an Olympic distance triathlon, which any of those are going to last for hours, even for the most elite people. So the indoor Arena Games is pretty wild. They put it together during the pandemic, but also I think a lot of the people who were involved with putting it together wanted a triathlon that was a little bit more exciting, a little bit more intense, in an arena with a pool, and all of the athletes have to do a 200-meter swim, it's around a 2.2 kilometer bicycle, depending on what course they use, all on the platform of Zwift using a trainer within the arena. So it's a stationary bike that they power through this multiplayer game called Zwift, which a lot of you will know. And then they get on a self-powered treadmill for just 1 kilometer all-out run. And then they take a short rest, and then they do that again 3 times. And it's a pretty cool event. I've seen it before Lionel did it, but I think he brought a lot of attention to it because he's such a popular athlete, and it was so interesting that, you know, this longer distance triathlete who is known for these amazing performances at these longer races was going to kind of change his training a little bit, or at least try to be competitive at this very short event. And it was amazing. I have to say, I was thoroughly engaged by this, and I think a lot of us were, because what ended up happening was that Lionel Sanders, you know, who admittedly is always near the back of the pack in swimming, and it was like this in the Arena Games. He was 30 seconds down after they got out of the pool, and amazingly, he was able to get out and in such a short period of time to push through on a bike ride that was only a little over 2 miles and catch a lot of the athletes. And he didn't win, but I think a lot of the people who tuned in just to kind of see what would happen, because out of curiosity, were extremely motivated. And I was so inspired, I was so thoroughly motivated by Lionel's performance and just his determination, his guts that you saw when he was pedaling on that bicycle and just not giving up, that I said, So I figured I would try to recreate as best as I could with the resources that I have, that kind of an event, and see how close I could get to the time that Lionel did on that particular race simulation on that day, and see if I could train up a little bit and then raise those numbers up, get better at those particular things, and then try again in a month and then see how I do. So on his channel, he posted this. It was a 225-yard swim in a pool from a dive, which I do have access to a 225-yard pool. However, I don't have one in my house, and I don't have one near my bike trainer. So it would be difficult to simulate that directly. But I am going to simulate it indirectly by doing the pool swim at the gym that I go to, and then jumping out of the pool as fast as I can, just throwing my sweats on, jumping in the car, going back to the house, getting out of the car, running back up here, jumping on my bicycle, which is going to be totally ready with the exact same course and the exact same thing that Lionel was doing in his workout. So that's going to be the biggest difference, is that there is going to be this period of time of about 10 to 15 minutes between the swim and the bike, which I know is unfair. And then I'll see what I can do to improve on that time and hopefully get closer. If I can't get all the way there, that's fine. I think the main thing is just to see improvements. So, how did the test go? It was very painful. It was very difficult. So, a lot harder than I really thought. I thought it would be hard, but it was even harder than that. So, I went down to the pool to do the swim. I haven't swam in a long time, so I knew that it was going to be a big challenge to swim 225 yards as hard as I could, no matter what time it is. The ending time, whenever you're out of shape with a particular sport or discipline, it's very difficult the first time that you get back in a workout with it. And I haven't swam really any workouts in over a year, so this was going to be really painful, and it definitely was. I was able to muscle through the first 50 or 75 yards, but after that the hammer just dropped and it was a slog to the finish. I anticipated that, but every time I anticipate that after 50 yards or so I'm going to feel bad and just try to stretch it out till the end, it feels worse than I think it's going to feel. And I actually am happy that I got in there and did it, because it was a reminder that in a couple of months when I do a 70.3 triathlon, if I'm not ready for it, it's going to ruin my day if I am really feeling horrible in the swim. So I was able to get through the swim very painfully in 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Lionel did 2 minutes and 37 seconds in the workout that I'm comparing myself to, or in the workout that I'm chasing here. Got out. Again, I couldn't jump right on the bike. He did. I don't know how much of a difference that would make. You're using different muscle groups, but certainly I was not feeling good coming off of the bike, and there's an energy cost when you're doing that. You just feel really bad. Now for me, I don't think, for me, it would actually probably make some difference because I'm not that well trained compared to Lionel. I would think that for Lionel, it wouldn't actually make a huge difference for him because he really trains pretty much every day for this sort of specific thing. So I don't think it would make that much of a difference for him on the bike, but for me, it was definitely probably an advantage in this whole situation that I was able to get 10 minutes of rest, jumping out of the pool, going out of the gym, driving to my house, all of which took a little over 10 minutes. I was watching the clock to try to just see so that when I do it again, I see how comparable those times are in terms of like the recovery between the swim and the bike. So then I jumped out of the car, ran up the stairs, hopped on the bicycle, no warm-up, nothing, just tried to get into it like he did and push pretty much maximum effort pace from the beginning. And that was pretty difficult too. It's just not something that I usually do. I think one thing that I realized as I went through this whole process of this test was to realize just how important warming up is. Pushing however much I was pushing on the bike felt so difficult because you're just not ready for it. Your body's not ready to do that work, and it's kind of like in a shock mode for a couple of minutes. Then I sort of settled into a groove, but then probably I took it out a little bit too hard at the beginning, and towards the end of the bike ride, probably the second half, I definitely noticed a power dip, and that's something that I'll really want to work on as I train to get a little bit faster. So for me, I did the bike ride in 5 minutes and 10 seconds, and I pushed about 345 watts. Lionel, in his test set, he did it in about 5 minutes flat, and he pushed about 407 watts. He weighs less than me, but on the bike ride that he did and on the bike ride that I did, it was a pretty flat course where weight would not be too much of an issue. We were both on TT bikes when we did this particular test set, so it makes sense, even though it does sound like this huge discrepancy of watts. Once you get up to that, 300 something level, yes, over the course of like an entire Ironman, that is going to be a huge difference. But this was only 2 miles or so, so it does make sense that the difference was only about 10 seconds. I think I could get that down a little bit. I will work on my 5-minute power, but overall, I think I may just try to pace it a little bit better. And I think even during this simulation, I probably could have been about 10 to 15 watts higher just from pacing it out a little bit better and kind of being ready for it a little bit more. After I got off the bike, it was a total mess. I don't know exactly why, but I got off the bike and I could barely walk. I fell down. That's something that happens sometimes, but
it goes through and I don't care what happens. It aches, and if I fall down, I have no fear of fainting in the gym because I know it could happen.
Usually even getting off the bike after like a 50 or 70 mile bike ride, you can not fall down. I think it was sort of a combination of no warming up on the bike, no cooling down on the bike, getting off the bike and just not realizing what it feels like to push almost a maximum effort on the bike for a couple of minutes, and then with no cool down at all, just hop off of it. And you can see that my legs are just barely even working. And after I fell down, I kind of had this sense that maybe this is over and I'm not even going to be able to run at all. But I said I was going to do it. I thought about Lionel. He would try it. I tried it. I did manage to get my legs moving a little bit, and luckily, like I said, it's kind of an advantage for me to have these little spaces in between, whereas Lionel just went from one to the other to the other. Once I got down the stairs of my apartment and I got outside to the little jog over to the track, I was able to kind of get my legs moving a little bit, and Then once I got to the track, I just said, just shut your mind off, and it's 3 minutes of running. You know, I wish. It's a short run. Just push whatever you can. This pain is not going to last that long. And so I muscled through. Basically, I could barely get my legs in front of each other, and I definitely wasn't thinking about my pace at all. I didn't look at my pace at all. I just said, just go as fast as you can. And I was hurting really bad. I was actually pretty surprised at how slow I went. I was hoping to be closer to like what a 1 mile time would be for me right now, which would be somewhere around 6 minute pace. But in the end, just for even 3 minutes, which or 1 kilometer, which is 0.6 of a mile, I was only able to push 6:30 pace, which I didn't think that the bike, just a 5-minute bike ride, would take that much out of my legs. But again, with no warm-up, with no cool down, with really no transition time other than just getting your shoes on, getting down the stairs, and getting to the track, it was a very difficult experience, but I think it's good. I think that experiencing that in the test made me think, or gave me a sense of what I'm training for and how I want to go about getting some improvements. So for me, for him, it was a 4:56 pace per mile run coming off the bike for 1 kilometer during this test. And for me, it was 6:30 pace, which is 4 minutes per kilometer, for a total time of 11:59 for me. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. This went a little worse than I thought it would. I was hoping that I would be within about a minute of Lionel's total time on this test, but that's totally fine. I think for me, I'll have some targets in mind. So obviously it would be wonderful if I could get to 10:41, which was Lionel's time. That would just be a cool thing to do because I'm such a big fan, and I really draw a lot of inspiration. But also, let's say even if I get under 11 minutes, that will be an incredible improvement. And for my swim, I think with muscle memory and really putting in about 6 specific swimming workouts during the course of a month, I definitely think I can feel and push harder in the water. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how close I can get and how much improvement I can make over the course of the month. I will post a video of that as well next month. And so again, if you're interested in this sort of stuff, please feel free to subscribe or follow me on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck in your training. I will see you next month. Boom.